Hey y'all, welcome back. It's Michelle from Michelle's Empty Nest. Today we are going to do the next 4 prompts in my Me, Myself, and I project, which I'm doing for the month of August. So I have my Storyline Chapters book by Heidi Swap, and we'll continue working in that. And then I have my 2 packets. This is for day 5 and day 6, and then day 7 and day 8. And this one is very chunky. I'm planning on doing some stamping today. I did want to mention for the numbers that I'm using on each page, I wanted that to be consistent throughout the album. So I chose the Carrie Bradford Outnumbered 2 extra large in just the feel and then the outline. So what I did in preparation was took a sheet or a couple of sheets of Basil white cardstock, and I just stamped the outlines, as many as I needed for 1 and 10 and 11 and 21 and 19, and just all of the ones that I would need, and a couple of extras in case I messed up. And I did that for all of the numbers so that I can just cut those out and decide what color I'm going to use to do the fill stamp on the day that I'm actually putting that project together. So I did want to mention that as a way that you can kind of use something to tie your whole project together, as well as do some pre-work that will kind of free up a little bit of your time and energy when you need to be at your craft table. All right, so I am going to go ahead and get everything set up to start on my first one, day 5, and I'll see you back in a bit.
Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and get everything set out for prompt 5 and prompt 6. You see I've got my planning sheet there from Crystal, which I will link below. And I start off by backing my journaling blocks on this. It's a pink, like a darker pink geometric pattern. I have 2 sheets of it. It came from Freckle Fawn, and I wanted to just not have my journaling just as a plain piece of cardstock. I wanted it to have some color to it, and so that dark pink sort of matches the darker pink in the flower in the papers that I'm bringing in just a minute. So while I had my trimmer out, I went ahead and grabbed the journaling block for the cats as well. We have 2 cats and 2 dogs, and so I did things like their name, breed, age, birth date, the nicknames we call them, and then just fun little stories or something that's special about them to us. So I went away and stitched on 2 sides of each of those papers, and those are from, I believe it's called Journals for Life. And I'm putting down the picture of our dogs. Piper, our Great Dane, is not a camera fan. She rarely looks at the camera, so that's why she's not paying attention. So I want this to look like it's been stitched into my notebook. And my vision was that it would be kind of like an open pocket. I didn't want it to be closed on 3 sides. I just wanted it kind of open. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I'm going to give it a shot and see how it goes over the next few weeks of using this book and make sure they don't fall out. So I have the dog parent and the cat parent stamps from Everyday Explorers, and I'm using these. These pages are kind of mirror images of each other, and in fact I really am not going to show you any of the side for the cats because it's just duplicating what I'm doing right now. So I stamped Good Girl in that area above the photo just to fill that in a bit. And then I added score tape, and now I'm going to get that placed down and pull in that journaling block and just kind of see how it's looking and feeling. Then from those same stamp sets, I'm also going to use, they both have a circle that says Dog Mom and Cat Mom, and then there's 2 sizes of paw prints, and the paw prints look a little different between the cat set and the dog set. So I am using the Tim Holtz Distress Ink and Black Soot again for things going straight to the paper. I just like the look of that for these stamps. Oh, and I remembered I needed to put my little stamp pad there. It's like a check signing. I think it's something old that banks used to use. I'm not really sure, but it's very helpful for working in bulky TNs and these kind of albums. So I am getting those three stamps up there kind of as a little cluster just to fill in some space. Um, and I will also take that smaller of the two paw prints and do two stamps there just again to fill in a little bit more of that empty space. And then I'm going to grab the number 5 and get it stamped, decide which color I'm going to use to stamp it with. And I choose from Picked Raspberry and Kitsch Flamingo. Kitsch Flamingo is going first. I love that color, and it matched okay with the lighter shades in the flowers, but I really wanted to have the darker shade because I did the dark pink thread, the dark pink background paper with the geometric print. So I wanted a darker shade and Picked Raspberry won out over Kitsch Flamingo for today. So I'm going to stamp my 5. Oh, I got a little ink on the side of my container, and I knew that that was going to lead to a huge mess if I didn't get that taken care of. So I'll stamp my 5 down. I am stamping it twice. I don't mind kind of that mottled speckled effect, but the first one was just a little too much. So I stamped it again, and I'm going to get it fussy cut out. I think I skipped through most of the fussy cutting, and then I will come back and adhere it down. So there it is. And like I said, I'm kind of skipping over page 6 or day 6 or prompt 6 because it's really just a mirror image, and you'll see some close-ups at the end as well as over on Instagram if you would like to go over there and follow me and see the pictures where you can kind of not pause them, but make them a little bigger, read the journaling. So that's what it looks like on the other side with Stella and Margot, our 2 Siamese cats. They were my birthday presents last year for my 50th birthday, so they just recently turned 1. And I'm using my Dymo label maker. I really like to use these little labels from time to time just because it's a little unexpected, it's a little vintage or retro, and I love the texture and dimension that it gives. I have quite a few different colors of tape, but I just decided to go with the black here. And I'm using it to put my titles, which is Furry Friends and Feline Friends. And those were 2 that I changed up a bit so that I could get a page in for both the dogs and the cats and have them side by side. And then I'm going to grab my scissors that I use for anything with adhesive on it, which is just a cheap pair that I don't mind getting junked up. And I'm getting the Furry Friends cut apart. I made it as one long strip instead of 2. So that's what I'm doing now, is cutting it apart and removing that backing paper. And I cut out some of me trying to figure out where I wanted to put the titles. And I just felt like it looked better here, just sort of as a cluster with the numbers instead of anywhere else on the paper. This just seemed to be the best spot. So I am fighting with the backing paper again. I think I end up pulling over my little awl or my pokey tool to help me get that started as well. And then I will get that adhered down. And while we're kind of sitting here, I will say video is long again. I just think because I'm doing 4 things, these are just going to be a little bit longer videos. I'm speeding up things, I'm cutting out things, and this is just about as fast as I can make it. So this series will probably be about this length every time is what I would imagine. All right, so now I've got my packet for day 7 and 8, or prompt 7 and 8. And these I left in the same order they were in. And there's my little planning sheet for that. I've got a lot of stamps and things on this for these pages. So this one is called Social Media. And I did my journaling with, I decided why was I using white when I can make my journaling be any color? So I decided to make the background match one of the icons in the pictures. So I have the Snickerdoodle Alpha set from Everyday Explorers, and I was tempted to use pink, and then I remembered no, my pink journaling is going there, so I went back to just the black soot with my little pad under there. And I'm going to stamp out Social Media. And I skipped through that so you wouldn't have to watch me do all that stamping. And then I have another stamp set that I don't know where it came from. It was just kind of like a something maybe like a Michaels kind of stamp set or something. It didn't have any kind of manufacturer's information. It didn't have a name, but it had Right Now in this little scripty font, and it fit perfectly. So it says Social Media Right Now. So I used that stamp set. And then I'm going to pull back over. I think I go ahead and do my journaling first. And I didn't have a lot to say here. There really wasn't much to say other than these are my screenshots for the things I have in my social media folder. So I'm going to adhere that. And that black and white paper that you see, that is from Citrus Twist Kits. And they come like as a 6x8, so I just trimmed it down a little bit. This book measures, I think it's about 7¼ by 9, I believe. So it's kind of an interesting size, but I really am enjoying working in the Storyline Chapters albums. So I'm going to get that backing paper adhered down, and then I take my 3 screenshots and just kind of space them out, eyeballing it. I typically measure and mark and do all kind of things, but since I've started filming and just trying to keep the flow going a little more, I have really let go of some of those perfectionist tendencies, and I can't get my head over in there. So I'm just kind of going with it, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's perfectly fine the way that it is. So for my number 7, I originally grabbed the 8 stamp and realized, uh-oh, I don't need that one. I need to go back and grab the 7. So I get it, and I decided to use Worn Lipstick for this one. It's not a perfect match. It's lighter, but I kind of felt like it was the same tone. So I'm going to get that stamped and fussy cut, and then it's going to go right down there in the bottom right hand corner of that page. Since when you do the screenshot, it blurs out the background of your home screen. So I figured that was a good spot just to put the 7. It wasn't going to interfere with anything being there. And I will tell you that I lose most of day 8. I am teaching myself Premiere Pro. When I used to make videos ages ago, I just used iMovie. I decided I wanted to up my game a bit, and so I am learning Premiere Pro as I am doing these videos, and I've lost a little footage, or I would think I was filming and I wasn't, so I promise I'm going to get better with that and with staying in frame a little bit better, hopefully each time. But the next one is favorite apps. It was supposed to be 1. I did 15. And I decided to kind of just go with a little bit of a vertical band. And that paper is not a perfect match, that little teal dotted paper. But it's close enough to some of those blues in there. There was several different shades of blue, so it's okay. And I'm grabbing the Ellie Studio Title Builder Volume 1 stamp set. I think there's 5, or I have 5. There may be more. And I wanted to use the word favorite there. And then for apps, I am using a Studio Calico stamp set, the Lucy Alpha. And I just liked those two. I like a lot of juxtaposition in my work, and so I liked, the variety there. I played around with this forever. That's my thinking fingers, and finally just kind of decided to just put the thing on the paper and let's move on. So I grab a bigger stamp block. So I can do favorite. And I did put that little stamp pad under there just because it's a longer word. I wanted to make sure that I got it nice and firmly pressed down. So I'm going to get that stamped and get the 8 out of the way until I need it there. And then I am going to grab over the apps, the letters for apps, and get that placed down. And when I get to the number 8, I go through several. I've cut out a lot of this footage as well because I hem and hawed a long time about the color. I started off with the Seedless Preserves Distress Ink, thinking that would be a pretty good match. I didn't end up loving it. So I went and grabbed a few other things, and you'll see those ink pads come up here in just a minute. Pardon the head and notice that there is not a single letter in apps that matches another letter. But it's okay. It's all right. I kind of add a little bit to the S at the end, some Wi-Fi stamps, and trying to salvage it a little bit. So there's the Seedless Preserves, and it just wasn't quite right. As it dried, it got a little better, but it just wasn't quite right. So I have all of the Distress inks in the little mini cubes, except for these new ones that haven't been in the mini cubes yet. So I tried Dusty Concord, which this one is, and it was way too dark. And then I went with Wilted Violet and tried that one. And I kind of like it, but I also have that Catherine Pooler stamp there, so I wanted to try it as well, and see how I liked it. And let me tell you, that is a juicy stamp pad. After using the Distress inks and then going to that one, I got ink all in the little well of that circle in the middle of the 8. So I didn't think it was quite right either. Again, just too dark. So I actually mess up and stamp my 8 in Dusty Concord, go back and finally do it in the Wilted Violet, and get everything set up and ready.
Okay, we are calling this one done. So let's look real quick at the 4 days we covered in this video. So day 5 and day 6, these are some that I changed up a bit. There was one prompt that had something about documenting like your parents / pets / children. There were several things listed you could choose from. So I wanted to do pets, but I wanted to divide up cats and dogs. So I took out one of the prompts and just made furry friends and feline friends for the title of my 2 spreads. And I wanted them to definitely look like they went together. So I just flipped these papers to kind of frame this in. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to go back and try to attach the top. I envisioned it just as being something that kind of came in and out very easily instead of a pull out. We'll see how it goes. And I did use my Dymo. I don't think it was on film or in the frame very well. I'm still working on that. But I did use my Dymo label maker to do furry friends and feline friends. And then use some of the stamps. Then for number 7 and 8, they were the same. So I did social media right now. And I think you could have taken this prompt a few different directions. If you have a big social media presence, I think you could definitely document those numbers on the different platforms. My social media presence is very small, so I just decided to do screenshots of my social media folder on the home screen of my phone. And I have 3 little pages in there. So I just did a screenshot of each one, and printed my journaling off on with a colored background. I actually went on to the Messenger app and picked up with my little eyedropper tool, the pink that was there. So I did that and printed it on matte photo paper so it prints out really nicely. And number 8, favorite apps. Again, in the list, it was just app with no S, but as I mentioned yesterday, I have a really hard time narrowing things down. So I went with 15 instead of 1. So I have Instagram and Time Hop, my Sleep Number Bed, podcast, Mighty Networks, YouTube, Wise, which is some of our cameras around the home, Google Maps, Alexa, which I can't say because she will talk to me, Audible, Nest, which is some more cameras, Amazon, Pinterest, my Freestyle Libre, which is where I scan myself on a little monitor on my arm to check my diabetes, and then Out of Milk that we use for shopping list. And I picked this purple because there was only one purple icon, and so I thought I could kind of balance it out by doing the number and the journaling. And I went back onto this podcast logo online and color droppered to get that color. And somewhere along the way, day 8 lost some footage. I thought I was filming and I wasn't. I think you missed like the whole getting everything adhered down. But it was pretty straightforward. I just had this piece of paper that was similar to some of the color tones in there. I didn't love the way this turned out, so I added the little Wi-Fi stamp and go where the Wi-Fi is strong to fill in some of that gap. I don't know, this didn't end up being my favorite here, but it's there, it's done. And so that gets us through day 8. So thank you so much for stopping by today. I appreciate you being here. I would love for you to give me a like if you enjoyed this video, and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. There will be some links below to a couple of channels and the products that I used. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.